Good evening and welcome. Once again, I am your moderator for the evening, Darla Montgomery of KLFY. Welcome to the Acadiana Center for the Arts in downtown Lafayette. On stage with us are the three candidates running for Lafayette Mayor-President. Their podiums are set up in alphabetical order by the last name. Please join me once again in welcoming Monique Blanco Boulet, Josh Guillory, and Jan Swift. For tonight's format, the candidates will take part in a Jeopardy-style forum. On our board, we have the 5 topics, and we are going to jump right into it. The budget, jobs in the economy, infrastructure, investment, catalyst projects, and a potpourri category. The candidates have been given the categories ahead of time, but not the questions. At the beginning of the forum, they will have 60 seconds for opening remarks. Then we will have 5 rounds of questions. The candidates will each have a chance to select a question and have 90 seconds to answer that question. The next candidate will then select a new question from the board and have 90 seconds to answer that question. Each candidate has the option for 2 rebuttals to address a question answered by another candidate. They will be allowed 60 seconds for each rebuttal. Additionally, if someone is directly challenged by another candidate, we will give them up to 30 seconds to respond. There are 2 daily doubles on the board. If those questions are selected, every candidate will have 60 seconds to answer the question. After all of the questions on the Jeopardy board have been asked, we will have a lightning round of rapid response questions where all candidates will have the opportunity to provide and answer for each question. And finally, the candidates will have 60 seconds for their closing remarks. And now it is time for us to begin our Jeopardy round Mayor-President Forum. It's time for each candidate to introduce themselves. They will have 60 seconds for the opening remarks. Prior to the forum, the candidates drew numbers and to determine who will start. Jan Swift was that person. Jan, we begin with you.
Thank you, Darla. Thank you for being here this evening. Thank you to KLFY, One Acadiana, my supporters, and everybody that cares about the future of Lafayette. I'm standing on the stage tonight with 2 people who have supported running the city of Lafayette as we've run the state of Louisiana. Both candidates have supported John Bel Edwards in the past. Monique, when she was a Democrat, and the mayor when he wasn't a Republican. You've got a choice to make tonight. We're better than what we have in front of us. I've been a Republican for 42 years, the only person that's been a lifelong Republican. That's exactly how I want to run Lafayette. I want to be a full-time mayor, taking care of our problems full-time. I want to deal with government honestly, and I want to serve each of you. Let's bring the future of Lafayette, city and parish, together. Thank you.
And Monique Blanco Boulet is next.
Got it. Okay. Thank you, Darla, and thank you to KLFY and One Acadiana. 9 years ago, I took over an economic development district in crisis. Today, the Acadiana Planning Commission is one of the strongest in the nation. We've brought in over $250 million into infrastructure and economic investment. And just recently, I was instrumental in bringing in the $1.1 billion advanced manufacturing facility coming to Acadiana, bringing more than 700 high-quality jobs. I will position Lafayette Parish for the same kind of big wins. What's different about me than the other candidates? 1, I'm not a lawyer, and I'm not Sue Happy. 2, I am from here. I am the only one from here. This is my home. I understand our people, and I'm passionate about our future. And 3rd, I am the only qualified candidate that has actually run a government agency that's audited for 9 years without any corruption, waste, or mismanagement. I look forward to discussing all of the topics we have tonight and to the questions. Thank you.
Mr. Guillory?
Thank you, Darla. Thank you to KLFY, One Acadiana, and thank you so much for everyone who took the time to be with us here today. I appreciate it, and I look forward to our discussions. You know, look, Lafayette's my home. I love Lafayette. My wife, who's on the first row, Jamie, I love you, appreciate you. We raise our kids here. Well, at least our youngest ones we're still raising here. Before I was mayor-president, I was a small business owner, an attorney by trade, primarily a family law practice. For many years, I served as a volunteer youth athletic coach in our community, in our Parks and Rec department and other areas, and I loved it. I'm very proud and honored to be an Army combat veteran. I served in Iraq in 2005 as a cavalry platoon leader, and it was the greatest honor of my life. But I'll tell you another honor of my life, a great honor, is to serve as our mayor-president over the last 4 years. 4 years ago, I stood on this stage and I promised you that we'd focus on things that matter, get our priorities in order, and we've done just that. We've invested heavily in drainage, in roads and traffic, quality of life, public safety, and doing everything we can to bring back our economy and make it roar, and we have. Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to move on now to our first round of questions. And we begin with Jan Swift, and you may pick your subject as well as the question.
Okay. I'd like potent potables for 600. I'll take potpourri. Thank you.
And your question? The number?
Question number 2.
Question number 2 from the potpourri category. As Lafayette Mayor-President, identify one priority you would work with all of the municipalities in the parish to address.
You know, I think this has to go back to infrastructure. There's so many things I want to do, but all of our communities want to see us working together as one to improve and to continue to improve with a plan our drainage issues. I am concerned about the direction we've been going without a master plan for drainage, and many of the people I've met are outside of the city of Lafayette and our outlying municipalities, and I think they're very concerned about where we're going with projects that have been started and not finished. We need to first go in, get engineers on staff to tell us where we are and how we can finish improving on the drainage that we need to work on. And if I can say a second one, it's going to be roads. When I talk to the mayors of other municipalities, the traffic in and out of Lafayette is horrendous. And so I think we need to really look at all the arterial arteries to make sure that people driving into the hub city can get here, particularly in the areas of growth, both north and south. It can be very difficult to get into Lafayette. So many people that work in our city drive in from other parishes too, but of course they're spending money. They're supporting our community. And so I want to see us looking to have a better master plan for how we move forward in the future. Thank you.
Ms. Boulet, you are next.
Okay. I will go with infrastructure investment Q3.
Question number 3 in infrastructure investment. What steps can LCG take to promote reinvestment in disinvested parts of the city and parish, particularly North Lafayette?
Certainly. So that is one of the areas that I've done a lot of work in. I know the University Corridor has very high poverty levels, but what we did there, which I think can be duplicated around, is really look for catalytic investment, and taking down the Les Pay Motel was that catalytic investment. It has allowed commerce to happen in parcels that were not in commerce. It has improved the neighborhood, and it's also the lead project right before the roadway project begins, which DOTD is about to begin that project. It will be the kickoff project, and I think we have to look around North Side for those catalytic opportunities. We cannot fix everything, but we can really seed some good investment in the infrastructure there.
Thank you. Mr. Guillory, you're up next.
All right, Dora, let's go with jobs in the economy, Q3.
Q3, jobs in the economy. As Mayor-President, how will you work with the Lafayette Convention and Visitors Commission and others to grow Lafayette's tourism economy?
We've had some huge wins in this area. I'm very honored to serve with Ben Berthelot and other stakeholders. You know, together we've brought back LATCO. We brought back the LHSAA state basketball tournaments, volleyball tournaments. I feel like we have a strong partner out now with our friends at LHSAA that makes us a lot stronger and more diversified in our tourism efforts. But if you take the investments that we're making in Brown Park, $15 million to make that a baseball and softball complex, we've already broken down. This isn't broken ground. This isn't pie in the sky. This project's under construction. If you look at that project and you look at the super soccer complex that we're bringing in Moore Park, if you look at the announcement last week that we had with a world-class multi-sport indoor facility coming to Lafayette, if you look at the skate park, Jamie Guillory, who's an advocate for it, skate park over at Thomas Park that we've all accomplished in 4 years, any one of those would add to our tourism industry. You take all 4 of them getting started in our first term, something I'm very proud of, but I couldn't do it by myself. I need my stakeholders at LEDA, our council members, One Acadiana, thank you, and LCVC, and together we have a great team. One person can bring it down, but it takes all of us to raise it up.
Thank you. Moving on to our next question and our next candidate, Ms. Swift.
Okay. Catalyst projects, question 1.
Question 1, Catalyst Projects. In 2014, Lafayette voters supported a temporary 1-cent sales tax to help fund a new airport terminal. If another Catalyst project were to be funded with the same mechanism, what project should that be and why?
I was a supporter of that temporary 1-cent tax, and I'm proud that the government honored its commitment. It was an 8-month tax, and it worked well, and we are now blessed with a beautiful facility. You know, in the past, it was before this, we tried to pass a tax for roads. I still believe we need more money to invest in our roads. I was just talking about that with the last question. If it was going to be temporary, I would want to look at the best ways, what corridors need to be improved on, because we all know we've seen overlay, but we haven't really seen new roads that are going in to make connectivity better. So I would support something like that if the voters wanted it. Nothing that a mayor-president does is by him or herself. So this would have to be something, but if the Lafayette voters supported it, I would want to see us go back to what was promoted back, I think it was 2006 or 7. We've also lost some taxes on education, and that was a real shame. We have so many needs in this community that roads, education, our jail, all these different needs that we have not been funded adequately, but we want to spend our money wisely. I want to see us first cut the waste, cut out the unnecessary litigation, and use our tax dollars wisely so that if we do pass a tax, whether it's temporary or not, we know that the money's going in the best place that it can be. Thank you.
And before we move on to the next question, I've already failed Alex Trebek. This was a daily double, just to let you guys know. If you notice, there were 2 parts to this question. At the end, it said, what project should that be and why? So that was the daily double.
Okay. Do I win extra dollars?
And that means also that each candidate gets to answer this
Okay.
question as well. So you are next.
Okay, great. So it's a one-time sales tax, right? So it should be one-time funding. I would look to the Performing Arts Center. I think I would back up the process a little bit and really engage the community and all of the stakeholders to look at that project so that we have buy-in. First, so everybody knows what the tax is for and has buy-in and supports it. I would also engage the philanthropic community because that's another major factor that needs to be put into there. But I think something like this, the airport tax was a success and it's held up often as an example. I think you have to do it with clean goals. You have to define it all out in front, and people need to understand the process, how you came to those answers, and you have to have buy-in. But I do think it's an option for other projects once the community is engaged and stakeholders are interested in it.
Thank you. Mr. Guillory?
Yes, thank you. This is another area where we're different as candidates and maybe philosophy. I believe when you go to the voters to ask for more of their money, I believe that it should be the last resort. I think you need to exhaust all remedies before you go to the voters and increase taxes. And we're not at that point right now. What I am, actually by the end of this week, I'm going to announce a plan for complete tax reform. We have enough revenue coming into our government. You can look at the budget. Right now we have a $703 million budget. But we need to look at every single millage. We need to look at our sales tax, both on operating and also capital. And we need to reprioritize. I don't think there will be major shifts that we need to do it, but I know that we can do it. Now, the process in which, the best process, in my opinion, is just like we did with the UDC and the LDC. When I took office, I said, look, we're going to repeal and replace the Unified Development Code. Council agreed with it. We got a lot of stakeholders together. It took us about 12 months to do. We took our time, but it was worth it. Same process, same thorough dialogue with the community and stakeholders, and we can achieve tax reform without raising taxes. Now, if you exhaust all those remedies, what my opponent said, I think I agree with that. Look, you get transparent, you get out there, you communicate, but it's got to be the last resort. Now, the catalyst projects, there's two. One is right downtown, our parish jail, and everything, all indicators right now show that we'll be able to move the jail without raising taxes. Can't do it by ourselves, can't do it locally by ourselves unilaterally. We need our stakeholders in Baton Rouge, and that's what we've done. Our Lafayette delegation's done a great job working with us to make that happen. I see my partner, Dr. Savoy, over there at the university.
And your time is up. Thank you. Our next question is for Monique Blanco Boulet, and you may choose your topic and your question number.
Let's go with budget Q2.
Question 2, the budget. In such a tax-averse climate, under what conditions would you support a new city or parish tax, and for what uses?
So I can't say that is something I would look at probably in a first term at all. I think we have been so flush with federal money that we really have to go look at what we have. And I think once elected, understanding where the money is, where it's moved to and from, is the first priority, and stabilizing that. I don't think we immediately go to taxes. I think my only situation would be in a project by project like the airport tax. I think otherwise we are growing, we have new revenue, we have a lot of federal revenue right now. I think we can look at what we have and then set our priorities within that budget.
Thank you. Moving on, to our next question and category, Mr. Guillory, you may choose your subject and your question.
Let's go with Catalyst Projects Q3.
Question 3, Catalyst Projects. The Bike Lafayette Plan is an ambitious plan to improve connectivity and provide recreational opportunities to Lafayette residents. How significant of a priority will implementing the Bike Lafayette Plan be during your time in office, and why?
High priority. And I have to tell you, personally, this is an area that I grew in. When I first took office, I truly didn't value, just being honest with you, I didn't put as high of a value on quality of life initiatives as honest as I should have. I learned very quickly that if we want to grow our economy, if we want to get those jobs over to Lafayette, we want to diversify, we want to help our workforce, we have got to invest in quality life measures. And that's exactly what we've done. Bicycle Lafayette is a wonderful plan. Our community development and planning department, our parks and rec department, and many, many other stakeholders, community stakeholders, has done a really good job. And it's a very transparent process, by the way. We did a survey. I think we had more than 1,200 recipients participate in a local survey, which is hard to do. So I appreciate all of our community participating in the process. Phase 1 is pretty aggressive, as the question calls for, but we want to connect all of our parks. We found that with the diversification of our economy, especially with innovation and technology, those industries growing, that particular sector likes pedestrian traffic. It likes the bicycle paths and connectivity, specifically in our quality of life measures. Parks, recreation is one of those. So I'm proud of these efforts.
Thank you so much. All right, and let's see, we're moving right along. It is Ms. Swift. I think it is your turn, my dear, to choose the issue as well as the number, and would like to also remind you guys that you do have those rebuttal cards there for a reason.
Okay.
You may use them.
Right, right. Jobs. I'd like to hear about jobs in the economy. Question 1.
Question 1, jobs in the economy. As Mayor-President, what actions will you take to incentivize new and existing businesses to create and retain jobs?
I love this question. I've got experience working in economic development. First of all, with Upper Lafayette Economic Development Foundation. I also chaired the Lafayette Parish Industrial Development Board. We have not been actively looking for business to come in. We actually have not even been promoting our culture through this administration. One of the first things I want to do is get back to business and bringing business here. I want to be encouraging businesses and emerging technologies to not only come visit here, but to stay with us, get to know our people. We've always had that can-do attitude. Some people call it wildcatter mentality. But people here that were in the oil and gas business, they're still here. People that have invented things, come up with patents. We are a hotbed of creativity, and I want to see us once again be promoting that type of business. We used to travel to our sister cities in Europe to look at bringing business here. Back in the 80s, I was a part of that before the Festival International was created. We had a board that was looking at how to bring back business when the oil and gas industry tanked, if you remember back in 1986. So the first thing I'm going to do is we're going to have people in the administration working with 1A, of course, working with our university, with Dr. Savoy, and figuring out collectively with business leaders, what do we need to do to bring in new businesses? And I think with the Blue Ribbon team, we can get this done. Thank you.
Ms. Boulet.
Can you put them there? Let's go jobs in the economy, Q2.
Question 2, what do you see as the industry or industries best positioned to create economic growth for Lafayette, and how will you support their growth?
Correct. I think first we have to look at our existing industries and really double down in supporting them, helping them build out their supply chains. And I think the existing industries, we're looking at healthcare, at the healthcare, energy, and tourism. I think to look at the new industries that we want to go after, it would be advanced manufacturing, it would be and IT. In fact, advanced manufacturing and IT are the two big ones, correct? And I think, so let me see the question. The biggest thing is really understanding their supply chains. Really understanding how do we build around them. With the first solar project coming, their supply chains will come, their suppliers will come and build their own factories. It will multiply the jobs and the impacts. And so it's building those relationships. And I've already started to have conversations with that company about what it looks like to bring their headquarters here. They are nowhere near that. But planting those seeds early, building those relationships, talking about the metrics that their plant needs to meet. I think their plant will meet the metrics. Our workforce is incredible. It's better than most in the world, I will tell you that. And so I have no doubt we will meet the metrics in that plant. And how do we bring their headquarters here? How do we bring their research facilities here? How do we support their supply chains? I think you have to look at every one of our major companies as well as the industries from a systematic perspective.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Guillory?
Yes, thank you. Look, our economy's strong. I love this question. The economy we have now is not the economy we inherited. It took a lot of hard work, it took a lot of partnership, stakeholder meetings, investments, also getting government doing what government's supposed to do, infrastructure like drainage, roads, quality of life measures, making sure that we're taking care of the priorities of the day. But if you look at the industries, to call the question, our industries just in 4 short years that have grown, technology, innovation, we are ripe for manufacturing. We have at least 7 LED pre-certified sites in this parish, which means that we can recruit headquarters to our downtown location or anywhere in this parish and put those manufacturing sites out in the parish and partner with our municipalities. I meet with the mayors at least once a month. This is a topic that comes up constantly. It's way more than drainage and roads and quality of life. It's all about the economy, and our economy is very strong, it's very diverse, and we continue to grow. Higher ed, medical, I could keep going on and on. I know I'm getting short on time. But I'm proud of our economy and economic measures, and we are strong.
I'd like to chime in too. May I do?
Certainly, and Mr. Guillory, that was a rebuttal, so yes, you may flip your card. And Ms. Swift, you may
Yes.
use your rebuttal.
One of the industries that we really need to be promoting is our creatives. And I'm looking around this audience. I want to say this. So many people have to leave here to make a living. You can't just work here. It's a side hustle if you're a creative. I know this from some of you. We have got to go back to promoting our culture. Not only just the beauty of it, but the people that are here that want to stay here. We're losing our 25 to 34-year-olds for a lot of reasons, but people that are Grammy Award-winning artists that live here, they can't make a living just being in Lafayette. They have to travel. We have got to dig deeper. So we're talking about regular jobs. That is a regular job. Being a creative is one of the hardest things you can do. And thank you, Keely, for taking time. I want to say that no matter what we do, we got to dig deep and get back to our roots. the place I moved to when I moved here 40 years ago and fell in love with this community. Thank you.
Mr. Guillory, you have the next topic as well as choosing your question.
Let's go Catalyst Projects, Q2.
Question 2, do you plan to see through the relocation of the Lafayette Parish Jail? If so, what is your vision for the existing site of the Parish Jail in downtown Lafayette?
Yes, and to do that, we're going to have to continue to partner with our partners in Baton Rouge, which we do have commitments from the legislature. And as far as vision for what's going to replace the jail, I want to set a blue ribbon panel. I want community involvement. So we have a lot of people here today that's involved in our community. You wouldn't be here if you didn't care. So if you're interested in something like that, if you want to have a seat at the table to be able to see what's going to go in that footprint, that very, very large footprint, 5 acres right here in the middle of downtown, right in the middle of the heart of our parish, this is going to be huge. This is multi-generational. It's more than just moving a jail. Now, moving the jail will help us with inmates getting services closer to the sheriff's facilities to help fight recidivism, which is good, especially as our parish jail inmates are not even sentenced most of the time. We need to make sure that we're proactive in the recidivism fight, but also from an economic standpoint and a quality of life standpoint. What we will not happen under our Guillory administration is what happened with the record of indecision, monument of indecision, which is the old federal courthouse. We will avoid that by being proactive. So while we're finalizing all the details to move the jail, we need to finalize our planning to make sure that we replace that footprint with something that is multi-generational, has a multi-generational impact, and we will.
Ms. Swift, you have the next issue as well as question.
Let's see the budget. Question 1, please.
Question 1, one of the most important responsibilities of the Mayor-President is the development of LCG's annual budget for presentation to the city and parish councils. In weighing budget priorities, what opportunities have you identified for cost savings?
Well, the first thing I'm going to do is get rid of all the unnecessary litigation, the legal cost. I just want to put that on the table. We are wasting so much money in litigation on quick take expropriation. We've blown through money that we could have been spending on the jail, on the police, on the creatives, all the things that we need to do. We have money, and we've gotten a ton of federal money in. We can work with our partners at the state, but the first thing we need to do is make a real budget and stick with it and not have millions of dollars going into litigation. Some important things to me, though, I want to see that our police and fire are paid fairly. I want to see that our priorities as far as drainage and other infrastructure needs are met. But I think the first thing I want to do is go in and do an audit of every department and try to figure out where a lot of the waste has been so that we can figure out what our priorities should be. And I'm going to leave it at that. Thank you.
Next category, and pick your next category, Ms. Boulet, as well as your question.
Let's go with potpourri, Q1.
Question 1, what is the most pressing public safety issue facing Lafayette, and how will you address it?
So I believe when you go door to door across this entire parish, whether it's north side or south side, crime. People are very concerned about crime, and for many of the same reasons. We have an uptick in violent crime, we have an uptick in teenage crime, we have an uptick in shootings. When you talk to the police officers, they will tell you they are dealing with those on almost a daily basis. It is a critical issue. It is an absolute critical issue. We can do all the economic development in the world we want to do. It won't happen if we don't get crime under control. And so how do you deal with that? First, you build a really strong relationship with the police chief, a stable, healthy relationship where somebody is able to come in as a law enforcement professional and have a voice, with a mayor who is also balancing the political wherewithal of the city. So there's a two-way street there. That creates stability at the top. That creates stability for our officers. You can compare it to the fire department, where we have a strong chief who holds his ground, and you don't see the flux. We are shy 40 to 50 officers at any time. We have about 12 to 14 officers on patrol on any given day. At any given time, we should have 20 to 25. They are overloaded. They are asked to protect the entire city without the staffing capacity that is necessary to do that. So I think first we have to stabilize the leadership, and then we have to look at how do we bring trust inside and outside of the police department, working with the community. Thank you.
Thank you. And as you guys can see, this is a daily double. Ms. Swift, you are next.
I've served on the Crime Stoppers Board for years. I'm immediate past president. I've watched 6 police chiefs be in office in less than 3 years. That's a pressing issue. It's very hard to be a first responder if you don't feel that you have a stable office. I look at our most pressing public safety issues is the burgeoning homeless issue, people that are drug addicted, mentally ill, they're downtown and they're spreading throughout our parish. They need help. Our police cannot handle this by themselves. They need to have more money to monitor what's going on with cameras. I know we're working on some of that now. They need to be paid fairly, and they need to feel that we have their back. So many of the police officers that I know they've been there over 30 years, they have an app on their phone, and they count down the days, the hours, and the minutes until they get to retire. We need them. Our most pressing public safety issue is us. I want to be safe when I'm at home in my bed. I know you do too. But think of the people that are homeless, people that need help. They need the police to be able to respond to them. So I want to see us have a coalition that works on our homeless issue while we buttress our first responders. We have not been addressing this as a community. It's just been different people. Catholic Charities does not get support from the churches. We have got to work as a team, guys, to make this one of our biggest priorities. Thank you.
Mr. Guillory, you get to respond to this question.
Thank you. So let me just infuse a few little facts. We do have more than 12 or 14 officers patrolling this city. Now, to protect their tactics and their approach and their sensitivities, we don't need to go into detail, but it is more than 12 to 14. Now, I'll tell you, our administration has been very strong on public safety. We added a police precinct right here in downtown. When we added that police precinct, it took a heavy burden off of precincts 1 and 4, and I'm very proud about that. We have a great relationship with our chiefs of police across the parish. We have a wonderful relationship with our marshal, who's doing a great job, and our sheriff, who's also doing a great job. Great team. We've been able to give pay raises to our police officers every single budget, and we are working with the council, city council, to give our police officers adequate pay increase, and our firefighters, and also an additional pay plan as well that is well overdue. Violent crime in our parish is actually down, but there is an increase in juvenile crime and there's an increase in domestic crime, which is a different trend than what we saw a couple of years ago. It's very straightforward, though. We got to be proactive. We got to think outside the box. We have to attack it from a behavioral standpoint, from a mental standpoint. I'm very proud of the stability that Chief Estorage brings to the Lafayette Police Department, and I'm extremely proud of our police officers. Chief Estorage came to me in the CAO just a few months ago with a plan to bring mental health awareness and behavioral services to our patrol officers, not to replace our patrol officers, but to supplement our patrol officers. We're going to crawl, walk, run, but once we got this thing ironed out, we're going to increase those efforts because that's what the call of the day requires. That's what the new tactics require, but we can't do it the way we used to.
Thank you. You are also up next to select the next area as well as your question.
All right, let's go infrastructure investment Q1.
Question 1. What are the most important investments that should be made over the next 4 years to improve drainage throughout the city and parish?
And look, we've invested more than $160 million in drainage over the last 4 years. We've added 1.25 billion gallons. That's a lot. Not with an M, with a B. 1.25 billion gallons of storage in our drainage system. We've added miles and miles of culvert, subterranean drainage, conveyance structures. But I have to admit, we still have a long ways to go. We're still playing catch up. So I'm very happy to work with our mayors. I'm very happy to work with all of our administrations across our parish. 4 years ago, there were no meetings. It was everybody for themselves. You versus me mentality, as if the drainage would stop, the water would stop at the municipality lines. We recognize that we can't attack it like that. So we created a parish-wide stormwater management meeting or process where we bring together all, not just the mayors. We do this at least once every 2 months. Not just the mayors, but the applicable public works department, the engineers, all the subject matter experts, and we're communicating respectively throughout the month so that we can attack drainage on a global scale. And that's exactly what we're doing. But look, in full candor, we still have a lot of work to do. So next term, we're going to continue to aggressively address drainage, roads, traffic, and other infrastructure needs.
Ms. Boulet, I believe you would like to rebuttal?
Yes, so you said $160 million on drainage. I know at least $60 million, probably more, is going to one single vendor for a project that's incomplete, that also has caused great concern by the technical community that it actually has any drainage benefit. It's a detention pond in the Milton area called Homewood. It's 22 feet above sea level. You have to pump water up. It's farmland, so it's topsoil and very porous, which means you have to line the bottom of it. The maintenance and operation cost, I can't even figure it out. Certainly that hasn't been discussed publicly. Most engineers think it doesn't actually impact the floodplain. So what will we do first to improve drainage is have a true understanding of what's actually been done, the money that's been spent, and then the best path forward. And I think we have to include stakeholders, particularly in that area, in the Milton area, in that they've been expected to just trust this thing is going to protect them, and they don't. There's a lot of anxiety in our community, and I think we have to be truthful and forefront with our information. Thank you.
I'm sorry, you do not get to respond to this, to the rebuttal. We have to move on. Ms. Swift, you may select the next issue and question.
Potpourri, Q3.
Question 3 in the potpourri section. How will you leverage the business community to execute on your priorities? Please give a specific example of a priority you would engage the business community on.
Well, it's a good thing we're here with 1A. I want to thank you for all you do for our community. This is an organization that not only works here in Lafayette Parish, of course, but across Acadiana. That's our first place to go, to look at the priorities that our business community has already identified. And again, I want to call out Dr. Savoie. Thank you for the leadership. We have a Carnegie Institute here at R1 designated university. That is business. You are bringing business here. We have so much investment in our community that's right there down the street. We have got to capitalize on what we have here with our university and the smart business people we have and the emerging businesses. You know better than I do, Dr. Savoie, what we need to do, but we've got to work as a team. It can't just be, scattershot. I want to see us meet as soon as I'm elected. I want this to be one of the first priorities, a blue ribbon committee to see where Lafayette needs to go. We're talking about manufacturing. We're talking about different things. I think there are things I probably don't even know about that you know about, that's emerging technologies. So I do want to work closely. I want to see other people at the table too, though. We need all elected officials at the table with our business community. We haven't had a master plan for how we move this community forward economically. It's time to do that. Thank you.
I understand Ms. Boulet would like to use her rebuttal.
Yes, so yesterday I was with one of our up-and-coming CEOs who's running one of the most innovative companies in town and his executive team. And the concern they brought to me was education. They want to build their R&D facility here in Lafayette and could not get their scientists to move here because of our public education system. We don't value education the way we should, particularly our public education system. We have to build a relationship with that school board from an economic development perspective, from the mayor's office perspective, and support their work. The construction in progress is going to help, but it's not enough. We have to do more. That public school system defines us as a community, and it impacts our businesses and their ability to grow and establish really strong roots in Acadiana. Thank you.
You also get to select the next question. Issue and question.
Okay, eeny, meeny, miny, moe. Let's go with the budget, Q3.
Question 3, the budget. It's the perception that the City of Lafayette, revenues are being used for expenses outside of the city. How will you ensure city funds are protected for city uses and parish funds are protected for parish uses?
So it's a mathematical equation. And I think it's a public mathematical equation that has to be used. We have to create trust around the taxpayer dollars that are collected so that the people in the city feel like their dollars are spent in the city and the people in the parish feel like their dollars are spent in the parish. I don't think you can blend them the way we blend them now. I think they move around so quickly, nobody knows what's coming from where. The auditors have great concern that millions and millions of city dollars have been spent in the parish. I think therein lies credibility and trust issues across the entire government when people don't trust where their taxpayer money is being spent, especially if it's being spent in another jurisdiction. So it is a mathematical formula that needs to be made public. The methodology needs to be made public, and I think you start there. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Guillory, I apologize, I didn't see you flipped your card for your rebuttal, so please do.
Thank you. So I have good news. I'll tell you, 4 years ago when our administration took office, we stopped the practice of spending city dollars outside the city. We were committed to protecting the city. We're committed to protecting the finances of the city of Lafayette and also the parish of Lafayette. And our auditor did find that there was no commingling of funds. There was 3 or 4 funds a couple years ago through grant dollars that were commingled, but that practice is no longer in place. And I'll tell you, I didn't vote for the Fix the Charter, but there was a consequence of having the city council and parish council separated. And I think this hyper-focus, I have to admit, I think the hyper-focus of a parish council looking at parish funds and a city council looking at city funds, that is a positive attribute of the new charter. A charter, in full candor, I did not vote for, but I swore no to uphold it. Specifically, where we stopped spending city dollars outside the city was in our Parks and Rec department. Our Parks and Rec department has a city millage. Yet before we took office, there were parks all over the parish. We worked with our municipalities, our teammates. We donated the parks to the municipalities. They now run it, and we don't spend money outside the city.
Thank you. Ms. Swift, I believe you also would like to rebut.
This is why I'm running. This issue came to my attention 2 years ago when I chaired Protect the City Committee. And to jump to the chase, we couldn't get information about where all the tax dollars were going. The city of Lafayette pays 100% of the IT cost for the city and parish. We try to get information about public works. How do these allocation codes, how do you even come up with them? We were told nothing was tracked. Nothing was tracked. How do we find out about, why can't the city council talk about city parks without having the parish council have to approve something going on the agenda? This is one of the biggest issues. This is why the other cities in Lafayette Parish, they're passing taxes because they trust their local government. They're passing taxes for sports complexes. The city of Lafayette, residents don't know where the money's going, and we have got a long way to go to ensure that everybody's tax dollars go where you voted it. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Guillory, you may select the next area as well as the question.
Good luck.
Darla, this is a tough one. I'm going to have to go.
Oh, there it is.
Structure Q2.
It's the last one. That's what happens when you don't look up. Here's the last question.
I thought it was a trick.
I'm funny sometimes, but yeah, that was not it. Okay, so question number 2. How will you work to ensure the completion of the I-49 Lafayette connector during your time in office?
Well, a lot of prayers right now. I'll tell you what, and I think everybody in here that's paid attention to this project is frustrated. When I took office, I was told that all the studies would be done, all the preliminary and all the necessary bureaucratic processes would be complete by Q3 of 2021. We're still there. So this is a federal issue, a state issue, but I'll tell you this. I know our delegation here in Lafayette, on a positive note, when we first took office also, though, we were told that it was a funding issue, a $1.2 billion project that's probably a lot more now under this climate. But our delegation out of Lafayette did a great job working with their colleagues in Baton Rouge to secure funding long term. It's not fast enough. We need to advocate, because that's our job. We have 2 things at the local level that can speed up this project. One, making sure that we make decisions in a timely manner when it's local decisions, and we do that. We don't take our time to do that, but we do put in adequate due diligence. The second thing is advocate like there's nobody's business. I've gone to Washington and advocate. I've gone to Baton Rouge and advocate, and we're going to continue to do that. And so does our Director of Community Development and Planning, Mary Slime, and she's doing a wonderful job. But it's going to take our Louisiana delegation to Washington to continue to put the pressure. Congressman Higgins has done a wonderful job pushing for this project, and so has our 2 senators, and I'm honored to serve with them.
Thank you. We will now enter our lightning round part of the forum, beginning with question 1. And Ms. Swift, you will answer the first question. What is the top road improvement project you would fund? Please name a specific project.
I want to see more improvement in North Lafayette roads. So I guess I'll start with the thruway. Let me just talk about that. There are so many deaths right now, people trying to run across the thruway while we're planning for the eventual I-49 corridor. We have so many roads that need to be overlaid. I'm not saying that, but we have some safety issues.
And I'm sorry to interrupt you, but this is called the lightning round, so yes, it has to be super quick. It can be yes or no, and maybe something slight after that, but no long answers, guys.
Yes.
I agree.
Very good, and you all get to answer this question. And I think that, Monique, you were next in line.
Sure, I would say I would extend the University Corridor project that's already existing from I-10 to Four Corners all the way to the airport, make it a major boulevard. It houses most of our major facilities.
Thank you so much, Mr. Guillory.
North St. Antoine Extension. Project's been on the books for more than 10 years. It's finally being funded. It's about to start in construction. I'm proud of that.
All right, question number 2. What is the top priority you will ask for support on from the new governor and state lawmakers? And you were next.
That would be the I-49 connector. It has been sidelined already now that our leadership is finished their last session, and we really do have to make a political push and come together as a region and ask for it and reestablish it as a real project.
Thank you, Mr. Guillory.
I want us to be able to have the opportunity or the ability as a parish to opt out of the roll forward, roll backwards tax requirements when they're reassessed by the tax assessor and also I-49 connector.
And Ms. Swift.
The Hyman Performing Arts Center funded for Lafayette Consolidated Government. The money went to the university this year. I want to see us really focus on getting that project done as a City of Lafayette project.
Question number 3, Mr. Guillory. Do you consider investing in downtown Lafayette a top economic development priority, yes or no?
Yes, we've invested $60 million in the last 4 years. Compare that to $2 million the 10 years prior to.
Next, Ms. Boulet. Yes or no? I'm sorry, Ms. Swift. Yes or no?
I do consider it a top priority, definitely.
And you, Ms. Boulet.
I do consider it a top priority. I don't think it's the entire core of the city, and we do have to look bigger, but it is certainly the center of business in Lafayette.
All right, Ms. Swift, we're moving on. Question number 4. Other than drainage, what is one city or parish priority that LCG is currently underfunding?
I think development of North Lafayette Parish. I think we need to look at what we can do to move economic development forward in a corridor that's been neglected.
Ms. Boulet.
I would say in the north side, we would look at programming for at-risk children that have been getting in trouble, as well as other investments on the north side.
Mr. Guillory.
Fire protection in unincorporated area and the tax reform that we're calling for will address it.
Moving on, question 5. When we begin with you, Ms. Boulet. Should the mayor-president position be split into a separate City of Lafayette mayor and Lafayette Parish president, yes or no?
I do not think so at this time. We have too many other areas of crisis, and it would take a complete rewrite of the charter.
Ms. Swift, yes or no?
Yes, we can do this without deconsolidating. Yes, Lafayette needs its own cheerleader while we work with consolidated government.
And Mr. Guillory.
No, and there's a lot of synergy with the position being combined.
Mr. Guillory, we begin the 6th question with you. Term limits for the mayor-president position, a good thing or a bad thing?
Good thing, and we should look at other positions in elected office as well.
Ms. Boulet.
Good thing.
Ms. Swift.
Very good thing.
Moving on to question number 7, and perhaps, as you can see, it is the most serious question of the evening.
Oh.
And we begin with you, Ms. Swift. Do you prefer seafood gumbo or chicken and sausage gumbo?
Aunt Pearl taught me how to make chicken and sausage gumbo. That's my favorite.
And Ms. Boulet.
That would be Mama's shrimp and okra gumbo.
Mr. Guillory.
Both together.
We've got a last question for you guys. Of course, we want to know, can you make a roux? And who's your mama? We were supposed to proceed with that. Who's your mama and can you make a roux?
So, yes, my mother is Kathleen Babineau Blanco, and yes, of course I can make a roux. She taught us how to make a roux many, many years ago.
Ms. Swift.
The best roux takes at least 45 minutes. Don't look away from the cooktop. Don't answer the phone. Taylor, you know this. You're going to burn it if you look away.
And Mr. Guillory.
Guys, the best thing I ever did was marry Jamie Guillory. I can't, but she can.
Wait, I have a challenge. Who's their mama?
Right. Oh, she's got a challenge. Who's your mama? Thank you, guys. That was fun for participating along with that. At this time, we are now going to hear from our candidates in their closing remarks for the evening. You each have 60 seconds. And we begin with you, Ms. Boulet. Blanco Boulet. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Oh, we start with, okay, I am so sorry. I'm directionally challenged often. We're starting with you, Mr. Guillory.
Hey, thank you again for this opportunity. Hey, look, I'm the only candidate in this race that has a proven record, has a proven vision. And look, I'll tell you, that record is strong, and that vision is bright, and our future is bright as well. Our priorities are in order. We're investing heavily in drainage, in roads and traffic, quality of life, public safety, and we're doing everything we can to make our economy robust and diverse, and it is, and it's strong. Look, I'm very blessed to have many endorsements. Some of those endorsements include every single mayor in the parish of Lafayette. I'm the only candidate that can say that. I'm also the only candidate that can say that I'm endorsed by every single chief of police in the parish of Lafayette. I'm endorsed by the sheriff of Lafayette. I'm endorsed by the district attorney of Lafayette. I'm the only candidate on the stage endorsed by the Republican Party of Lafayette Parish. And you don't do that without having a good working relationship. You don't do that without having a good team spirit and setting the right culture and tone. Our future is very bright in Lafayette, and don't let anyone tell you different.
Ms. Boulet.
So this election is not only important, it's critical. If we don't stop and get it right and put somebody who's truly qualified in the mayor-president's office, it could take the city and the parish another 3 decades to recover from where we are today. I am the only qualified candidate that has run a government entity that is audited, that does not have corruption, waste, and mismanagement. I want to remind you of my priorities. First, I want to stabilize LCG. Second, I want to address crime by bringing trust to the inside and the outside of the police department. Third, drainage. We're going to bring data-driven decision-making into the process that also protects our taxpayer dollars. Fourth, I want to expand fiber to the home so everybody has it throughout the parish. And fifth, I want to use all of the power of the mayor-president's office to go out and recruit good jobs with benefits so that our citizens can build their families and our children can come home and build their families here in Acadiana. Thank you.
Ms. Swift.
Thank you. I'm also the only candidate, besides Monique, that has run an office that was audited with no waste. I ran the Secretary of State's office for several years, so I do want to point that out. I've been an assistant city parish attorney. Even more importantly, I'm bringing myself to you. I'm the only lifetime Republican. I've always been this person. I'm a fiscal conservative. I'm going to end waste in government. No big contracts are going to go. I'm going to be a full-time mayor with no side hustles. I'm bringing a heart and a love for this community. I am going to listen to the people, but we're going to end the corruption that we've seen in this office. We're going to end Lafayette going down the trajectory that it is. I promise you, I'm going to bring honesty, and I'm bringing the person I've always been for the past 40 years. I have been active in this community on boards and commissions. I have worked in government enough at the local, state, and national level to know how government should be run. Thank you.
Thank you all so much, candidates. At this time, I would like to, once again, and the audience, you may join me in this, to thank the candidates for being here this evening for this forum, and to thank our partners. And to thank you to the partners for making this possible, to One Acadiana for leading this event in partnership with KLFY, and special thank you to Acadiana Center for the Arts for their partnership to host us here this evening. Please don't forget to mark your calendars for the upcoming election, Saturday, October 14th, early voting taking place from September 30th to October 7th. Thank you so much, everyone. My mama's name is Patricia. I can make a gumbo, and I like chicken and sausage. Have a good evening.